Hello there, welcome to Granada Reports.
Hello, on the programme this evening.
More staff, save lives, show us the money.
Striking for more staff, not more cash. The mental health workers who say they're so overstretched, vulnerable people's lives are being put at risk.
What they are saying is that this service is unsafe, and it's absolutely imperative that this situation changes before the crisis gets any worse.
Unlawful killing, a coroner's conclusion on the death of Debbie, a young woman who needed love and care, neglected and left to die in squalor by her mother.
Biggest name in WWE.
Guitars galore, a sneaky peek ahead of one of the biggest auctions of Oasis memorabilia ever seen.
And heavy rain will continue through this evening, but we have some drier and brighter conditions coming our way through tomorrow. I'll have all of the details later in the programme.
Please stay with us. But first, so many times we hear about workers going on strike over pay. But tonight, one group of mental health workers say they're striking to keep people alive.
Well, that's because they say there aren't enough of them to keep the highly vulnerable people they support safe.
Their employers, the Greater Manchester Mental Health Trust, have been rated inadequate 2 years running by the health watchdog over fears about safety and the quality of their services.
Well, staff say people are actually dying because of the shortage of qualified people. The Department of Health says it's working to fix the system.
Our reporter Anna Youssef has more.
More staff, save lives, show us the money.
These mental health workers say they're striking to save lives, lives that are being lost by low staffing levels and a lack of funding. Union members from Manchester's early intervention and psychosis teams say staffing is so thin it's unsafe and they have no choice but to strike.
We don't have the staff that we need to do the job that we want to do. We are working alongside some of the most distressed, some of the most complex and some of the most fantastic individuals with mental health difficulties in society. And the number of staff that we have at the moment is woefully inadequate.
Do staff believe that patients are dying in Manchester because they aren't getting the care and help they really need?
Absolutely, patients are dying, and the national statistics bear that out. There's almost 30,000 people a year dying from preventable deaths who are involved with secondary care mental health services. So we don't have the staff to offer the preventative support that people require, and that does end up in people suffering and dying.
Staff were joined on the picket line by service users and their families. Angela received inpatient treatment for more than 3 years and now campaigns on mental health issues.
Andy Burnham has said that the strike is unselfish. I would agree with that. The workers could have come out on a pay issue, but they've chosen to come out on strike because services are under-resourced.
Staff here are employed by Greater Manchester Mental Health NHS Foundation Trust, deemed as inadequate by the Care Quality Commission for 2 years in a row due to serious concerns about the safety and quality of its services. Anandi's daughter was 17 when she first experienced psychosis. She battled for years to get her help.
What we found in community was there was never any continuity. There were constant changes. When she did eventually get referred into early intervention, we were then told that we had to wait for 4 weeks for her to see a psychiatrist. That was just impossible. So she ended in A&E and then in hospital.
Anandi's daughter was sectioned 3 times, spending 4.5 years in hospital.
The experience of being in contact with mental health services for my daughter has been traumatic. Not only was she neglected and not really provided with the care when she needed it, when she did receive care, she was over-medicated, detained under the Mental Health Act, on occasion restrained. We were calling out and saying, if you continue like this, you're going to kill her.
Do you believe if your daughter had received the right care when she was first experiencing problems with her mental health, things could have turned out differently?
Absolutely. I know people that did receive proper care, compassionate care, holistic care, that in 2 or 3 years have really turned their lives around. And, you know, now we are in a state where we're unravelling damage so that she can then rebuild her life.
What do you think is going wrong with our mental health services?
Mental health services definitely need more funding, but they need more than just more funding. They need restructuring. We need a compassionate system, a compassionate culture in society, or we are going to see more and more people in crisis.
Show us the money, more staff.
And Andy was on the picket line today. She hopes the strike will make people listen. Staff here say they just want to be able to do their jobs properly and give their patients the help they so desperately need. Anna Yosef, ITV News.
Well, we asked the Department of Health and Social Care about the issues raised in that report. And a spokeswoman agreed that people with mental health issues are not getting the support or care they deserve. She added the government is working to fix the system and ensure mental health is given the same attention and focus as physical health.
Well, the statement went on to say that we will start by recruiting 8,500 more mental health workers to cut waits for treatment, and will also reform the Mental Health Act to ensure people with the most severe mental health conditions get better, more personalised care. All right, well, next, we just need to give you a warning about the story coming up because it does contain some very distressing content. A coroner in Blackpool has concluded that a young woman with Down syndrome was unlawfully killed after being found dead at the home she shared with her mum.
Yeah, it's no exaggeration to say that Debbie, who was 24, was almost unrecognisable when she was found dead. She was severely emaciated and her body was covered in sores.
Her mother, who was jailed for manslaughter 3 years ago, refused to attend the inquest. Our reporter Tim Scott was there.
Blackpool coroner Alan Wilson described this as a particularly sad and tragic case where no one emerges with much credit. Debbie Leach was 24 and had Down syndrome. She died in her Blackpool home in her bedroom in August 2019. She was emaciated, weighing just 4 stone and was covered in scabies. She was described as looking like a skeleton. She was under the care of her mother, Elaine Clark, and the family were known to social services. The conditions in the house they lived in were described as barely habitable and smelling of human excrement. The coroner listed failings on the part of professionals who visited Debbie's home in the weeks and months before she died. He said the family GP didn't show enough professional curiosity when they visited, despite Debbie's weight loss. A social worker and carer didn't ask enough questions about Debbie's condition, and they were too easily influenced, he said, by Debbie's mother, who'd hidden the truth from them about her neglect of her daughter. Debbie's mother, Elaine Clark, was jailed for 9 years and 7 months in 2021. She'd pleaded guilty to gross negligence manslaughter, and police described her at the time as a despicable individual, one who'd left Debbie to die in abject squalor. Today, the coroner said he wasn't going to issue a prevention of future death notice, as he was satisfied that the professional agencies who'd failed Debbie have since changed their working practices. He said the cause of her death was severe emaciation and neglect and scabies, and he ruled she was unlawfully killed.
So sad. Tim Scott reporting there. Blackpool Council said its thoughts and condolences remain with Deborah's extended family. The council also said Deborah's tragic death has taught us a lot. Following a review, changes have been implemented and are now embedded in our social work practice. Our processes have been improved, along with the way we share information to provide the care we provide to vulnerable residents.
More of the day's news now. And the inquiry into the crimes of Lucy Latby has heard how she gave a potentially fatal dose of morphine to a newborn baby 2 years before she murdered her first victim. The baby received 10 times the correct amount of the painkiller in July 2013 and could have died if colleagues at the Countess of Chester Hospital hadn't spotted it an hour later. The hearing heard Latby then wrongly gave an antibiotic to another child 3 years later. She's serving 15 whole life terms for murder and attempted murder. The hearing continues.
3 women have been arrested on suspicion of murder after a man was stabbed to death in Liverpool. Emergency services were called to Muirhead Avenue in West Derby in the early hours of yesterday morning. A 47-year-old man, who police have named as Paul Foster, was taken to hospital but later died. Police are appealing for witnesses to come forward. Well, next tonight, to how AI is helping people with dementia in what's being described as a potential technological breakthrough.
Yeah, the first Alzheimer's avatar launches today. Designed using the experiences of those who live with the disease, it helps provide social interaction and maintain communication skills.
More than 100,000 people in the northwest alone live with some form of the condition. And that number is expected to rise to nearly 150,000 by 2040.
Rachel Pritchard has more on the innovation which is hoped could transform care.
Toby, would you like a biscuit?
For Gail Gregory, life changed forever when she was diagnosed with early onset dementia.
The thing is, when you get a diagnosis of dementia, like I did 5 years ago, when you leave that clinic or consultation room, you feel quite numb and everything's sort of a blur. So you come out of that room and you haven't answered the questions that you might wanted to answer because it's just been a big shock for you.
Gail got help through an online support group, recording video diaries about her life. Now that support and expertise has been turned into an AI avatar with the hope even more people can be helped.
Lenovo came to us and said, how would you like us to help you take all of this wisdom and all of this knowledge and all of this compassion and put it into a virtual avatar that has been named Live, that can be there as a direct contact between all the wisdom in these diaries and people who are sitting at home having just received their diagnosis of dementia. And obviously we thought that was a pretty damn good idea.
The scientists brought the technology to Gail's house so she could try it out, and it's then that the trial took a surprising turn.
It was really different, quite scary at first because you're speaking to a robot, but once you get used to that, it's quite useful. The strangest thing was, though, because I'm from Lancashire and I have a very broad Lancashire accent, the more I spoke to her, she was actually picking up some of my Lancashire accent, which was quite scary at first, but it brought a few laughs in the room. I'd like people to know that dementia is not all about the end stages. Find peer support groups and get involved, and your life will change. I've turned everything around now from being so negative and not knowing what was going to happen to my life to being so positive.
The AI avatar isn't publicly available yet as the group needs more funding, but it's hoped this technology could help make a difference to the millions of people living with the disease. Rachel Pritchard, ITV News, Thornton Cleveleys.
Oh, what a great
Good
innovation.
idea, and a Lancastrian AI to boot as well. Lovely idea.
Let's see what's going on the ITV News at 6:30 with Mary.
Coming up on the programme, a house explosion in Newcastle kills a 7-year-old boy and injures 6 others. Police are investigating the blast, which has destroyed the property and damaged neighbouring homes. In football, the New England men's manager says it is a huge privilege as he becomes the 3rd non-Englishman to take on the job. And from the wild wests of Derbyshire, the premiere of a western whose cast is made up entirely of care home residents. Do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Wowzers, and from a shootout to a potential throwdown. Now, the name Cody Rhodes may not mean a great deal to you, unless, of course, you're a fan of professional wrestling brand WWE.
In which case, you will know he is just about the biggest name there is. Cody Rhodes is the current undisputed WWE World Champion. Oh, well, the good news is the WWE Roadshow has rumbled into the Northwest, and the even better news is Mr. Rhodes himself popped in for a chat a short time ago. Cody Rhodes, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You are undisputed WWE champion. How does that feel?
Gosh, as we were sitting here, I got my eyes locked in on my own championship, and not to be megalomaniac or egomaniac. Very lucky man.
And you took a bit of a roundabout trip to get there as well, didn't you? You left WWE for a couple of years.
The most roundabout. There's a really famous everything you could imagine, all to come back to WWE and finally get my hands on it.
And at that time, you were in quite small venues. You were in Altrincham, weren't you, in Manchester?
So I was actually coming over to the UK almost 4 times a month throughout that independent run, and the reason is, and this is not remotely a fabrication, the UK wrestling scene is so different, so vibrant, so jovial, so loud. They sing, they do all kinds of different stuff, and at the time it was just the place to be for me. And they really kind of like lights and environment and the feeling in those arenas just filled my soul up at a time I needed it. I forever feel indebted to the UK audience for that time when I was away. I was here so often for a reason, and they helped me get to where I am.
Do the Brits have the same passion that the Americans have?
It's like a different passion. You know, WWE very much world wrestling entertainment from WWE. Just the fact that in Manchester, it's not just a live event. We're bringing a steel cage match to Manchester blows my mind.
You were in Liverpool Monday night. It's Manchester, the Co-op Live Arena this evening. I mean, you know, we do have venues that could host WrestleMania.
Yes. Not only do you have venues, it seems like in every city there's a huge giant stadium, just from the amount of football lore and the grandness of it all here. There is a lot of places that something like it would be a wonderful thing in the United Kingdom. But again, I know nothing, and I just think it would be a wonderful thing. It would be.
Listen, you mentioned football there in the stadiums we've got here. Whenever you're over here, you seem to get dragged into supporting, I don't know.
Yes.
Who do you support, Cody?
That's a great question, and let's cut to it right here. Let's get the record straight. I will support whoever gives me the jersey and gives me a wonderful tour of the wonderful venue they have. Now, Wade Barrett, who is a commentator for WWE, a close personal friend, former tag team, partner of mine, he's a Preston fan. He had made me a Preston fan. Michael Cole as well, the voice of WWE. So I will rock with Preston. I went to Man City the other day, the campus and everything right there by Co-op, and that hub that they're building, this entertainment scene that's going to be there. And that tour was so nice. In addition to that, they gave me a jersey for my daughter. So at what point, but here's the thing, the pictures come out on social. I thought, like, this is great. I took a tour, awesome. Didn't realize some people very happy about that. Other people not so happy about that.
That's always a problem.
A lot of passion, a lot of passion.
You're used to a dispute or two, though, aren't you?
I am, and these photos might prove it. Although Seth's leg's a little higher here. I was lazy on my super kick, but gosh, it's a nice reminder of how great Seth Rollins is. Obviously, Roman Reigns, one of the greatest of all time, but Seth was the MVP of this year's WrestleMania, no doubt.
This is something that obviously you're still so passionate about. You still enjoy doing.
Oh, I feel like I get more passionate about it. I don't know if that's where my future lies in terms of something behind the scenes, behind the camera, but every day it starts to seem like, man, maybe that is where I'd like to go, producing television and also just managing talent, whatever it may be. But I'm really enjoying this run. I certainly am. You never know how long you're going to be champion. It could end tonight. And it would have been an exceptional run, but hopefully it doesn't.
Fingers crossed it doesn't.
Yes.
Cody, lovely to speak to you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is a blast. Thank you.
It was great.
Very smart for a wrestler. So you didn't challenge him to the throwdown then?
No, he wouldn't.
Didn't show him a bit of the Bonner Basher?
He knows when he's met his match. Anyway, it's always great on this programme to be able to introduce you to a sporting star of the future. And it is time to meet another. This is Amal Bloxom.
Amal Bloxom indeed, and she is a swimmer, as you can see. She's 15 and already clocking faster times than 9-time Olympic champion Katie Ledecky managed at the same age.
She is an extraordinary talent, and Mike Hall has been to meet her.
To reach the top in any sport requires dedication, and swimming is no exception. Just ask Amal Bloxom.
I do 3 mornings, Monday, Tuesday and Thursday. It starts at 5:15 and then I do Monday night, Tuesday night, Thursday night, Friday night and Saturday morning. And I go to school in the days.
Wow, that's intense.
Yeah.
But it's paying dividends. The 15-year-old from Worsley in Greater Manchester is already being talked about in the same sentence as an American sporting icon.
Right now, my PB is faster than Katie Ledecky's when she was 15, so that puts me on a good track.
Something of an understatement. Ledecky is a 9-time Olympic gold medalist. She's the most decorated female swimmer in history and Amalie's hero.
She's pretty inspirational because obviously I think she won the Olympics when she was my age, and she's like made history, and she's probably an inspiration to many other distance swimmers, and hopefully someday in the future I can be like her.
What's even more remarkable is Amalie could and perhaps should have lined up against Ledecky at this summer's Olympics. Her qualifying time wasn't enough to make the British team, and yet would have been enough to make the 1500-metre final in Paris. She now has a point to prove.
Considering I missed out on Paris, I really want to go to LA and kind of make a name for myself, because obviously I'll still be quite young then. I think I'll be like 19. So if I go there and do well, that's just all I want, really.
Watching on today at Broughton Leisure Centre are Grandad Eric and Mum Nicola, who cites an accident 3 years ago for Amalie's rapid rise up the ranks.
Amalie went into school one day and phoned me up and said someone's ran over my foot with a bike and I broke my foot. So obviously she was really upset that she couldn't get straight back into swimming. And they said that if she just did pulling, that she could take the boot off and just do arms only. So that's what she did for 6 weeks. Legend has it that that's what made her.
John, you've clearly got an incredible talent on your hands. How far can she go?
I've not got a crystal ball. All we can do is just keep working hard. Those people who win Olympic medals, they can do incredible things, particularly in the training environment. Extraordinary. And Amalie's one of them things. Over the past 2 years when I've been coaching her, she can do extraordinary things in training. And that gives me great hope and expectation that I would like to see her, and if all goes well, up on that kind of level where she is at an Olympic Games.
I'm absolutely convinced. She's talented. I mean, it's a talent to be able to get in that pool and swim up and down for 2.5 hours, 6 days a week. So, you know, yeah, absolutely convinced. In fact, I think I'll put a bet on, to be honest.
So what would it mean to you if you were to line up against Katie Ledecky in the LA Olympics?
Well, I hope I could do that, because obviously I'm always better in a race. So if I'm chasing after her and I know that she's the best, I'm going to want to be the best. So if I can chase after her, then I'd just love to race her, like in real life.
If Amalie gets her way, they'll meet much sooner as she targets the World Championships in Singapore next summer. Mike Hall, ITV News, Manchester.
Oh, such a proud granddad. Love it. Now, so a golf buggy which once belonged to Noel Gallagher and his brother Liam's tambourine. They are amongst a host of Oasis memorabilia that's going up for auction next month.
More than 60 lots will be on offer at the online auction, including 18 of Noel's guitars, one of which is his custom silver sparkle Gibson Les Paul Florentine. Noel described it as the best guitar in the world, and it's expected to sell for between £200,000 and £400,000.
Yeah, that's going to be popular, isn't it? Particularly with those reunion gigs coming up. I can see you, actually, Andy, Bonner the Basher, in this psychedelic golf buggy. I think you'd look great in that.
This one here?
The one here that looks like a guitar. That's the one. That's the one. Good job. One of us is looking at the pictures, isn't it?
We were inundated prior to the reunion announcement with possible items for our November auction. And this year, I think we were lucky to have some of the best content that's ever been offered in terms of Oasis before.
Are available to view in London this weekend. Proceeds go to the Teenage Cancer Trust.
Yeah, and that will take place next month. Let's go and get the weather. Here's Luke.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello there, good evening. We have a yellow weather warning for rain in place until 9 o'clock this evening. Could lead to some disruption on the road, so do take care if you're travelling. We have another warning for wind coming into force on Sunday at 3 o'clock in the morning. Same with us right through until noon on Monday, so the winds could lead to some disruption then as well, so please do keep an eye on the forecast. Low pressure continues to dominate our weather for the next couple of days. We have a brief, quieter interlude tomorrow with some dry, bright conditions coming our way. Then we have the next batch of rain pushing through as we head towards Friday. Further showers tonight, some heavy downpours continuing to move northwards. Quite a cloudy, murky night. Showers will ease off as we head towards dawn with a few clear spells developing. But it is a mild night, temperatures holding up between 9 and 13 degrees Celsius. However, temperatures could dip a few degrees lower in the coldest rural spots. Tomorrow is definitely an improvement on today. Plenty of fine, dry, bright conditions coming our way. Sunny spells into the afternoon. Some patchy cloud bubbling up later in the day with 1 or 2 isolated showers. Quite breezy along Irish sea coast, but it is a mild day. Temperatures holding up there around 17, possibly 18 degrees Celsius. So looking ahead for the next couple of days, we can expect some wet and windy conditions through Friday. Saturday looks like a drier day, 1 or 2 isolated showers around. Temperatures staying in and around average for this time of year, but then we have a weather warning for wind coming into force through the early hours of Sunday morning, staying with us right through until Monday. Those winds could lead to some disruption, so please do keep an eye on the forecast over the next couple of days. That is the very latest. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye for now.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Horrible weather, but Louise, thank you, and do have a very good evening.
Thanks so much and good night.
Bye-bye.